Hey everybody, welcome back to our series on improving explosive agility. My name's Steve, one of the performance coaches here at SSB. And just to kind of recap on what we've kind of gone over in this series, first things first is we talked about that stable base position, right? About how important that is before I produce movement, no matter what that movement is. Running, jumping, cutting, diving, tackling, whatever it's going to be. That stable base, out of that comes our explosive agility, or our ability to move. So we talked about shuffling laterally, and that was simply covering this frontal plane of motion, pushing off the outside leg, but staying closed off and just working on short distances with a fast shuffle. And then we touched on crossing over. So moving laterally, distances no longer than 3 yards, stealing second in baseball, 5-10, 5 test, or simply just turning and running for those longer distances. That focused on pushing off of the inside leg. We could obviously do that crossover in different angles. It just doesn't have to be going laterally running that way, but that movement's used so often, so we kind of want to cover that. But outside of that, I obviously can do a lot more. I can move in any direction, right? So out of this base, I could really go straight ahead. I can turn and run back behind me. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about cutting angles. And we're going to go ahead and break it down like we do here when we train our clients on a 0-degree cut being running straight ahead, and then a 180-degree cut running back behind me. I'm obviously not going to go greater than 180 if I can help it, because I would simply just turn the other direction. That's the goal, right? So out of that, obviously, there's a lot I can do in between this 100 or 0 and 180, right? So to keep it kind of simple when we train, we're going to train 0-degree cuts, obviously, 45-degree cuts, 90-degree cuts, 135 and 180. In between that, we could do any sort of combination or angles we wanted to focus on, but that kind of covers a bunch of the great different cuts we're going to have to do at different angles. So in doing that and trying to improve our skill set, our skills and our tools that we have in our toolbox to move as athletes, we're going to focus today on pushing off the outside leg. We covered inside a little bit of that crossover. Now let's work on outside leg and pushing, trying to cover all these different angles. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Josh here, and we're going to kind of go over how we would train that. So Josh is going to go right here. We're going to use this white cone as a starting marker. And once again, Josh is going to drop down, and I'm going to test his base. So we talked about how important this is. If he's not stable in this, then how the heck is he going to produce movement in the intended direction I want with power, right? So I got to make sure he's gripping the ground with the toes. Once again, knees are in just slightly. Bring your knees in just a little bit. There we go. So you can split that turf apart. So he's ready to push in any angle. Because remember, even though what we're working on now is pre-programmed, he'll know where he's running. And in the sporting environment, in the sporting arena, he doesn't know. It's got to be reactive, and it can be anywhere that he's going to have to run. So he's got to be prepared to go in any direction. Okay, go and relax for just a second, Josh. We're just going to make his cuts to the right now. So if he's pushing off the outside leg, obviously it's his left leg he's pushing. Now, obviously in training, we would go ahead and do the other side as well too. But just for showing for this video, we're going to make all his cuts going to the right. Okay? So he's going to drop back down. He's actually going to run right there, right at our camera. Hopefully he doesn't run the camera over. He's going to do a 0-degree cut, pushing off this left leg, because that's what we're working on right now. So right arm up. When I say go, he's going to push, punch, and I'm going to have him break it down just to work on deceleration. And go, push, punch, and he breaks it down into a base. Good, go ahead and bring it back, Josh. It's important that he pushes hard with that left leg and gives me a nice good punch with that inside that right leg. Why? Because he's got to run afterwards. The more push he gets, the less running he has to do, but I need his knees and toes to come up and hit the ground with force just to practice good running mechanics, right? Because he's trying to get from point A to point B as fast as he can. Okay, so now let's open up those cuts and do a 45-degree cut. So we're going to go for that cone right out there. It requires a little bit more hip mobility. He's got to push and open up laterally a little bit more, rotate a little bit more. But other than that, it's going to be the same technique. So he's going to drop back down, right hand up. He's going to push off this leg on my go, and he's going to break it down in line with that cone. And go! Push, punch, break it down. Good, bring it on back. He'll do that one more time. I'm going to have him just throw that right elbow a little bit more to open up his hips. Other than that, he'll do the same thing again. So drop it down. We're going to do that same cut at 45 degrees again. And go! So the elbow, drive, and break it down. So good, not bad, right? He's going to bring it back now. And once again, we're just going to open up his cuts a little bit more. So he went over 0, straight ahead. 45 going that way, and now 90, which this will look kind of like the crossover, only it's going off his outside leg. Once again, either one is okay. We're just working on improving his skill set so he can push equally off this leg and this leg, right? So drop it on down. He's going to run straight to the right. It's going to require more hip mobility, so we have to really use this arm and really open up these hips more. And go! Push. Good. Break it down. I'll have him bring it back, and I'll have him do it one more time with more hips. So I really want him to throw that, and that inside leg, that right knee should point at his target. If it's pointing at his target, then I know it's going to be a straight line. If it's not quite, it may be kind of a rounded line, right? We want to make it more efficient. We have to go straight to that cone in one push. Ready? So here he goes. Right hand up and go. Push. Better. He breaks it down. So even better. More hips, right? He's going to bring it back now. And then once again, let's open up that angle even more, right? We did 0, 45, 90 degrees, and now he's going to go 135. So when I start going back behind him, it's a little more difficult. It's going to require more hip mobility. So for athletes that are really tight in the hips, this is going to be a challenge. This lets us know, let's start to work on hip mobility, maybe before, after, during the session, so that this cut is a little bit easier, a little more fluid, okay? So he's now going to go 135 degrees, right back behind him, still pushing off this left leg. I need more right arm and more hip. Ready? Go! Push, punch. Good, bring it down. Let's bring it on back. He'll just do it one more time. The temptation for him is going to want to be to take some jab, step outside his base. Not the end of the world if he does that a little bit, but I need him to grip the ground and push. So I don't want to step the wrong direction. I want him to push towards his target. So if that foot moves a little bit, not the end of the world, but I got to make sure he gets that push off that left leg to get towards his target, right? So he has to run it. So he'll drop back down, he'll do it one more time, a little more push off that left foot, and go! Push. Good at breaking it down. All right, awesome. So he'll bring it back now, and now we'll go over the last cut, which is going to be 180 degrees. Probably the most difficult one, especially if you're tight in the hips. He needs to run straight back behind him. Obviously, he can go either direction, but for this set, we're just focusing on pushing off the left. Remember, once he's done with this, I would have him do the exact same progression, just pushing over the left shoulder. All right, so let's drop it on down. A lot of hips. He's really going to have to use this right arm to help spin his hips through. And go! Punch, punch, punch. Good. Bring it down. Awesome. He'll do one more. I think he's going to work on a little bit better breakdown over there, but that was a good push. I want him to quickly drop his hips, grab the ground, to basically be ready for his next movement, right? Come back to that base position. Okay, one more time. Pushing off that left foot. And go! Punch, punch, punch. Break it down. Excellent. Good. So, thank you, Josh. Perfect. So he just worked on a 0 degree, which is basically acceleration. We know that. Running straight ahead, and then opening up to these different angles. If he gets better with all these different pushes, now we've improved his skill set to where he can push any angle we need him to go. He can also shuffle, because we worked on it 2 weeks ago. He can also cross over, turn, and run, which we worked on last week. Once again, trying to improve and build on his skill set. Give him more skills, give him more tools, so he's more dangerous in the field. Basically increasing his beast mode status. Thanks, and then tune in next time.